now call the June 12th Caribou City Council meeting to order. And the first thing on the agenda tonight is public input. And we have Shane McDougall that has requested public input.
Yeah, I don't know if I requested it, but certainly I'm here just it was brought to my attention that my seat on the Tri-Community Board was in question, and I guess I just wanted to come and discuss that and see if there are any issues.
Council hasn't dealt with it yet. You're on the board right now. It's up to council to appoint someone to appoint two people to the board, actually. And it will be discussed tonight under other business. So.
Okay, I have time to speak with that then?
Yeah, you can stay until then and speak to it then if you want.
Yep. Also, a second question I had was, I see the broadband study. I didn't see anything in the packet regarding that.
I'm just going to talk about it tonight. We're going to have it done, but I don't have it in front of me yet.
Okay.
Should be fairly quickly.
Okay.
We have a letter from Mark Draper as well regarding Shane on the Tri-Community Landfill Board. Basically, it says that he desires to stay on, which I think is why he's here. And it's council's right and prerogative to appoint whoever they think best represents the interests of the city. He states that Shane was appointed in October of 2011 and has been a very active participant in the various board proceedings. Most recently and perhaps most pertinent is, in this case, is Mr. McDougall's participation over the past year or more with the committee that has been diligently negotiating with the City of Presque Isle to reach an agreement to merge solid waste management operations. And I think most people heard that was announced on Friday. Tri-Community Landfill and Presque Isle are looking at joining together. So. Anyway, conflicts of interest from City Council on any agenda items? No? Consent agenda. The following items are considered routine in nature by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion and vote. There will not be separate discussions on these items unless requested by a council member. Approval of the April 18th, 2007 City Council workshop minutes. Approval of the May 8th, 2017 special City Council meeting minutes. Approval of the May 8th, 2017 City Council meeting minutes. Approval of the June 1st, 2017 special City Council meeting minutes. Department reports. Approval of the May financials. Approval of rubbish hauler license. Approval of liquor and special amusement permit. And person in possession for 2017 taxes. Are there any items on there that anyone would like to question or discuss? No? I had a few things, but I don't think the department managers are here tonight for it. And it looks like it's just some problems in the, I think they're using Excel spreadsheets or something for these. And some of them are not adding figures properly or not putting in the right numbers. Caribou Fire and Ambulance Monthly Report. If you look at the revenue lost, prior year's month and prior year to date are both the same number, which I don't think they are. And the mileage is the same thing on both of them. Housing and FSS monthly report. On the waiting list statistics, if you look at the current month, it shows 108, but if you look at the household income for the current month, it's 111. So those two don't add up. And the average year to date doesn't add up. Yet the prior year and the average prior year, they both add up. So it's just must be something in the program they haven't got set right or whatever. And I haven't had a chance to go through the financials. So.
Mayor, I'd like to move the slate.
Second.
All those in favor? Approved. Automotive recycling business. way back here. I guess, Penny, did you want to speak to this?
Well, I have Mr. Anderson was here to talk during public input.
Oh, okay.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
It's going to be now. We're going to make it your turn.
Good evening. I've been speaking with Penny Thompson. I own a business on North Main, GJ Auto Body. My name is Vince Anderson. For some reason this year, as we approached to get our license renewed, they refused to sign for us. We've had the license for upwards of 30 years now. She's telling me that they're finding that, you know, the way the code's set up, we probably don't fall under all the codes. I'm here tonight hoping that you can still have her sign my renewal license so we can operate the way we have been and, you know, address the problems that we have, you know, forward from here. I guess that's it on my part. You know, I'm at your mercy, because if you don't sign, then lawfully I can't sell salvage vehicles. So.
Which you have been doing forever.
Forever. And this is brought to our attention because somebody else tried to get a recycler's permit and did not qualify, or I'm not sure all the ups and downs, but I guess I don't either, now that we read all the bylaws and everything that you need to follow. But we thought we were doing everything properly up till this point. So I would like to move on from here and find out exactly what you want us to do to make this right and make it happen.
What is it that he doesn't qualify for up there?
Based on the state statutes, there needs to be screening. We also, he has a few vehicles in the back. It's nothing that, like you would see even out on Route 1. There's a used car dealer that has a lot of cars out there. What Mr. Anderson has, there's not very many. I did drive by in the course of reviewing this, and the building itself kind of screens it, but it's going to need some other screening. And in your packet, I explained how the history of this kind of happened, and the ordinance that deals with automobile graveyards hasn't been updated since 1980, but this recycler component of that was introduced in 93 and further updated in 03. So for some reason, it's just never been updated. So the only thing that we have under that statute that deals with recyclers is auto graveyards. So we really need to change that. And I did speak at the planning board, well, Phil, you were there, on Thursday, that it just needs to be updated so that we're in compliance. Mr. Anderson wants to be in compliance. I did finally get a list today from dealer licensing to find out who's operating as recyclers in town that are not also automobile graveyards. 3 on the list. You have your public hearing every year for auto graveyards. With a recycler, they can get by with a public hearing every 5 years because it's a more stringent process than auto graveyards. But as part of that licensing, Mr. Anderson and anyone else who's licensed as a recycler still has to come in once a year to sign that they're in compliance with all the codes. But the public hearing only has to be every 5 years, whereas the auto graveyards are every year. So we just need to update it. But what I need tonight from you is permission to sign Mr. Anderson's form, who's not in compliance, because we're not in compliance. We can't expect Mr. Anderson to do something he doesn't know that he has to do because we're not doing it the way we're supposed to do it. So we need to work on this, but in the meantime, we don't want to shut Mr. Anderson down while we're cleaning up our own mess.
Does this pertain to anybody else, or is he the only one?
I have the only other one on my list that is not an automobile graveyard, because you can be both, is Rod Pelkey on Access Highway, and his license expires in January of 18. So he'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be renewing, is what I've heard.
Who's the other ones on the list?
AIM Recycling,
Yeah, the John.
John Gilbert,
Yeah.
Mark Netto.
John Gilbert's recycling? Or-
No, he's a graveyard. And so you can be a graveyard.
Yes, I know about
Yeah.
it, but there is a narrow dividing factor there, because if I recall, and don't hold me to this, but I think when I was reading in there, the auto recyclers, I don't think there was a requirement for them to have screening. I could have missed something when I was reading it.
Yeah,
okay?
their requirements are very much the same.
Okay, well, we just want to look at that because I read that. The other thing is that when it talks about the reissuance, did I not read in there that as long as they were in compliance with the original application process, that we could continue to do that?
Correct.
So then it's questionable as far as the screening, and that's the only issue with his there?
As far as I know, we talked about record keeping. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Because especially the amendments that were made in 2003 had to do a lot with DEP, water quality, those types of issues. And when Mr. Anderson came in, I think we talked almost an hour, right? Just about the operation of the business, or record keeping, the waste disposal. And that's all part of that statute too, when you read it. It's about keeping good records, having good management practices, that type of thing.
Yeah, but as far as Mr. Anderson is concerned, he's been following.
He's been following. It's
Whatever,
really
so-
us that has
Right,
fallen
so-
down on our
So
job.
what I'm saying, he basically falls into, I don't like to use this terminology, but he falls into the grandfather.
Previously
portion of that-
existing non-conforming use, yeah.
So I think we could issue his permit, okay?
yeah.
Based on that, but if there are conditions that need to be corrected, I think we can work with them and take care of that.
And we talked about that when he was in the
Is that
office.
satisfactory with you, Mr. Anderson?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would make a motion in that particular situation to go ahead with his and.
Second.
I have just one comment
Do you
first,
want,
though.
do you want to, what about new business before we make the
The
motion?
new business has to be done in accordance with the statute, okay?
I just want to make sure that's clarified, because if someone comes along tomorrow and wants to start up and is going to be fixing up vehicles,
I just have,
we'll have to tell him no.
one other thing is said that
License.
the business owner could in theory operate a junkyard if you sign this form. Is there any place on the form that you can just simply,
You would, I think on new ones, you can check that,
Yeah.
but someone who's existing, the renewal form is different than a new form.
so you can't
So-
just kind of add a little
No.
thing under there that said he won't operate as a
Yeah,
junkyard
I mean,
or
we've
something?
already had that discussion. I mean, it's a lot of the same requirements, but because currently all we license under that statute is automobile graveyards, then if I sign that form, I'm saying you're okay under that statute, so have at it.
But when he comes up for his 5-year review, we can correct the documentation.
Yes,
If we did
yeah.
the documentation, there's no reason why we can't update the
Yeah.
documentation at that time, too. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we'll just see to it and make sure it doesn't happen that way again, that we're not doing
All right.
that.
Thank you very much, Penny.
Okay. So you want to come tomorrow? Please. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Can you read the motion back, or did you?
I was gonna ask, was that to authorize Penny to sign Mr. Anderson, and I didn't get the name of his businesses.
G&J.
D&J?
G&J.
G. J.
And that's all it's for, because we're not going to pertain to new business,
There's
right?
nobody else on the list, right?
Not right now.
Okay,
Okay.
So you're authorizing Penny to
Yes.
sign that form?
yeah.
All right.
And then we can refine
We have a
this
second,
and
do we
update
not?
the ordinance.
Yep, Mr.
Phil
Martin,
and
Council
Dave.
Martin seconded.
All right. All those in favor? Approved. You're all set.
Awesome.
I'll see you in the morning. Yeah.
Next item is tax bill inserts. And in recent years, I guess Efficiency Maine has requested that a base brochure be placed in the tax bills at no cost to the city. I don't quite understand, at no cost to the city. Who puts the bills in there? Or who puts those in there? We put them in ourselves? Or do they come in here and put them in?
The city of Caribou contracts with high-grade business forms to mail our tax bills.
Oh, okay.
Because the savings in postage, because of bulk mailing, makes it cheaper than having us stuffing envelopes and mailing bills. So I would assume that Efficiency Maine must pay something to high grade, but it doesn't cost us anything to fill those. Austin was a strong proponent of Efficiency Maine programs. If you go to their website, he's actually even in one of the little videos they have about lighting. So he was always a strong proponent of that, but I thought this year I would bring it to you folks and you can decide. I mean, we have a lot of people complain about them being in there because they see it as wasted paper.
Oh.
Because they think it's costing the city something to print those.
They don't
And
think it's all waste and throw it out.
yeah,
With the
no.
tax bill.
Doesn't matter, they still have to pay it.
Yeah,
So anyway, and then there's information in there if you wanted to have a custom insert, what the costs are. When Steve Buck was the manager, he used to put an insert in about just different budget things, always had pie charts,
yeah.
like type 9 font.
We haven't done that.
No, it hasn't been since Steve Buck was here. But so that was about the insert.
All right.
Any questions or?
No?
Okay.
I need a motion to, whether we want to let them include their brochure in the tax bill.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Passed. Next, we have recommendation from the planning board to change the zone along Access Highway from Otter Street to Madawaska River from a RC-2 zone to an R3 zone. And this is from the Caribou Planning Board. The Planning Board has held both a preliminary and final public hearing to consider recommending an amendment to the Caribou zoning map to delete the RC-2 zone on Access Highway from Otter Street to the Madawaska River. This change would absorb the section of Access Highway into the R3 zone. As presently listed in the land use table, neither single wide or double wide mobile homes are allowed to be placed within 300 feet either side of the highway. What? I mean, they didn't include a reason why they wanted to change it. Councilman McDonough, can you?
Yeah, it was because somebody has some property there that the frontage wouldn't allow him to put a manufactured house in there, okay? And I forget, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, maybe 9, they changed, no, maybe not quite that long ago. They changed it to the RC2 because they thought that they envisioned some businesses growing out there, and those businesses have come and gone, and this person has the opportunity to put his home out there, but he'd have to have a 300-foot plus driveway, when as in the past it was allowed, because it was R3. That's basically what it boils down to.
So it cannot be used for commercial anymore,
It will,
this is done.
it will not, no longer be what you consider a commercial zone anymore.
Yeah.
There's very little out there, really. There's more residential than there is
Yeah,
commercial.
yeah.
And that's the way it was in the past, so.
What's the R in RC2?
Residential.
Right. So what's,
But RC2, you can't put manufactured housing. Okay?
no, but there's a difference between manufactured housing, to me, and a trailer.
No, that's what they're called now, manufactured housing.
Yeah, but have we adjusted our code for that?
Yes, yes.
I mean, they're just as good or better than stick-built. I don't get it.
Don't ask me, you ask HUD. That's what drove.
Anyway, we
drove
have
it this
to
time.
have a public hearing on this.
Yeah, I thought that you would take their recommendations and decide what you want to do. Next council meeting, we would do our first read, and then we'll have public input on.
All right,
They had a hearing,
yeah,
Phil? They had a hearing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any opposition?
Nope.
send it to public hearing.
Second. You wanna do the other one too?
No, I have questions.
Send it to first read,
Huh?
first read, not the public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need,
It needs to go to first read first.
do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, we can.
So,
Make a motion.
Yeah, make a motion.
I'll make a motion on the first one here.
Second.
All those in favor? Approved. The next one is recommendations for zoning amendments to the Caribou zoning map again. The planning board has had their preliminary and final public hearing to consider recommending amendment to the Caribou zoning map to change the northeast section of the Skyway Plaza subdivision, lot number 3, to C2 from the current R2 zone, along with the eastern side of Solomon Street. Caribou Planning Board has voted unanimously in favor of this change and hopes that City Council will continue in process to amend the Caribou Code accordingly. Councilor McDonough, can you give us a little background on this?
Yes, apparently Mr. Rosenberg is making some changes over there in his shopping plaza. He's subdivided it, 1, 2, 3 lots. Up there in the back where it was at one time, C2, I think, when they started building the housing development, they requested that be changed over to R3. There were neighbors, John Bradley, Carla Bell, and a couple others, and none of them had any heartburn with it because they realized that there probably is not buildable property over there anyway. It's all for that stuff.
So the abutters had no problem?
Nope, the butters had no problems. Well, the ones that spoke anyway.
Well, I had an abutter speak to me about it. Didn't really say yes, favor or not, just kind of wanted to know what was going on. So that's all I have.
Well, we'll have to have a public hearing on it as well, so if they do want to come out and object to it, it's certainly an opportunity to do that. So. Can I get a motion to move this forward?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Approved. Update on the Caribou Stream project. I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Mr. Markey could not make it, he said the
Okay.
report's not finished yet.
Tax acquired property bids. Manager Hagan, I'm gonna call on you. I've really gone through these, so. There's only 2, is that correct?
There's only 2, correct. That was
All these were advertised?
correct.
And we have one bid on property number 17 of $1,050. And we have a bid on property 21 of $1,010. Both are above the minimum bids that were required.
Move to accept those bids.
Second.
All those in favor of accepting the bids? Passed.
What do we do with the rest of them?
Abatement request we have here, I think, in front of us.
No, but I mean,
We'll look at it and readjust.
I don't know.
readjust?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you got minimum bid $1 and you get no bids. Can we just offer it to whoever lives next door?
I can check.
And-
Yeah, you can do that, but they may not want it.
Yeah,
They don't want to pay the tax.
who knows?
We have an abatement request here from Wanda. Abatement of real estate taxes on 45 Railroad Street, map 030-162-ON3, which is currently owned by the city. Building was torn down in April and was on leased land. There is no feasible way to recoup the amounts owed since we don't physically have anything to sell. The amounts to bid are as followed, and it's about $680 roughly, so, for 3 years, 2014, 15, and 16.
Move to accept the abatement request.
Second.
All those in favor? Passed.
Did you look into the, down on the Broadway side of that where we burned down the building and the property reverted back to the landowner versus? Is there anything that we have to do, or,
I don't think so.
because this is the same situation there too?
Yeah.
I just,
I'll check though.
okay.
Next item is the Bird's Eye buildings, and Mike, I take it we haven't heard anything back yet on our,
No, we did put an application in, Northern Initiative
Order Commission.
Warden Commission for requesting for them to help us pay and to take down those buildings, so.
do we know when we'll hear back on that, what the final deadline was?
I'd have to look and see what the. September?
All right, well, we'll wait and see, and then I guess if nothing happens there, we'll have to decide if we want to do anything here or not this summer, so. The next item is broadband study, which I asked to have put on here. We have a small committee that's been meeting with Pioneer Broadband and discussing possibilities of what could be done in Caribou here. We've talked to them about doing a study in Caribou to map out exactly the areas that are properly served, the areas that aren't served at all, and those that are underserved, and the costs of doing broadband in Caribou. And they are going to prepare a quote for us to do the study, which I was hoping was going to be here already today, but it's not here yet, so. As soon as it gets here, we'll be bringing it to council. Yes.
I got a question. So regarding that, as you know, we had a broadband coalition several months ago, and we had several meetings with this panel right here regarding that, and several of you said that broadband wasn't needed. So I'm kind of curious
I don't know
why the change. The three of you said you didn't need broadband. Absolutely.
Shane, I didn't.
I think the mayor said he didn't need a study, or didn't want a study.
I didn't see spending $57,000 for a study.
Oh.
That's what I said. Do I think broadband's needed? I think if we had broadband, it would be great. But I couldn't see spending $57,000 for a study, which was mostly done already.
And we have 60 megabits right now for
Yeah.
Spectrum,
Yeah.
you know. So.
I was curious. That's not what was said.
Well, I don't know if the...
It's too bad, because it was a good group of people.
I don't know if the minutes were recorded or not, or if the thing was
We have a bunch of surveys, too.
broadcast, but you could look on the broadcast for that meeting and see what it said. Because I know, and it was stated here, I was against the study, that's all. Not against broadband. Other business, does anyone else have any other business?
Yeah,
Yep.
the fire truck, I got you.
Did you get my?
Yeah, I got that, but can we get some of our local people to look at that and give us some bids too?
We could, those were two local, with a military authority, which works
Yeah.
on big trucks.
Yeah.
But we could also get
But you know,
our
maybe
local,
Mr.
Yeah.
Anderson is an example,
Yeah.
Fred Bell, and Bacon.
we can do that. If
Uh,
they're willing,
Lawyers,
if they're willing to look at it. But,
'cause
yeah, we talked about that this morning.
I looked at all the pictures, okay? Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
So, we're gonna have him do something local as well, are we? Or?
We're gonna have them look at an estimate of what it would cost to fix it through, possibly through MMA. There's also another company that's up around here that acts in the area right now. will look at and give us an estimate.
Okay. All right.
Versus us taking that down there, or have to have them come out. They're happen to be in the area. But I will have our local.
Well, it is feasible to repair it to sell it, I guess.
There might be a possibility of trading. My understanding is one of the companies has in Auburn has a fire truck that has just the opposite of what we have. So they have a good chassis, or have a bad cab, and a good chassis. So there might be some able to trade it in or
Time it out.
time it out. Yeah.
Now, this is the one we replaced?
Yeah. Yeah, prematurely.
Okay.
I'd like to speak when this time about another matter.
Sorry?
I'm not very good at this, so you'll have to bear with me. My name's Susan Lucia, and as up until this past Wednesday, I was living at 78 Fontaine Drive, and my landlady was Ruth Adams. November 16th, my husband fell down the cellar stairs. The stair broke, and he got a concussion. He had 3 staples here and 1 here. To make a long story short, code enforcement came December 2nd, and they gave her 7 days to have all these violations fixed. Nobody ever came back, and I've called and talked to Penny and left messages, and I guess there's been some changes with code enforcement people or whatever, but the stairs are still there that he fell on. His memory still isn't right from it, and as of Wednesday when I moved out, the stairs are still there, and I don't believe she's ever been violated, and she had 7 days to do this. Now, okay, Christmas, that's fine, but it's almost the 16th of June. That'll make 6 months. I just want to know what you're going to do about this.
It's been a civil process going on.
Yeah, nothing. But I mean, she got the electric got all updated. The only thing that she didn't do was remove the stairs. And my husband's 65, I'm going to be 63 in July, and we've had to look at them, go outside the side of the house to go downstairs to do the laundry out in this cold winter that just passed. I mean, and now she's saying she's going to have more tenants. That's, you know, they need to be removed. That's what it says right here. So
Do you have a copy of what she has, or?
you can have this to make a copy if you like. But
Do you have that, Penny?
I think I've emailed it to you. Yes, I have. I think I've emailed it.
so in either case, it said she could be fined $100 to $2,500 for each violation. The 2 things she hasn't done is remove the steps, and it's been pretty hard for us to look at them because my husband really got hurt, and like I said, his memory still isn't right. His neck isn't right. And I just don't think it's fair that she gets away with this, you know? And also, the other thing that she didn't do was she was supposed to have an external dryer vent made, which I guess you got to drill a hole probably. She put a dryer box in, which fine with us. I don't really care, but the steps need to go. The problem is when you get down like about 3 or 4 steps from the bottom step, the main beam goes right across, so you always had to bend your head, and I figure that's when he fell. And then he probably hit one of the supporting poles, cracked his head. He was bad. He had a concussion. He doesn't remember. We were on our way to see my dying sister in Texas that day, and he fell. They let him go. He doesn't remember getting there. They gave him special transportation from when we got off, from one place to the next. He doesn't even remember going in a wheelchair. He doesn't remember like 3 or 4 days after that. And to make a long story short, he's got a concussion, and his neck still bothers him, and he hasn't been right since. So I just, in good conscience, and because it's wrong, I think she needs to be charged or fined to get this done. Nobody ever came back to check, you know. Had they, maybe it would have been addressed sooner, but I can't leave this in good conscience knowing that that's there. Because like I said, it was still there up till this past Wednesday, the stairs. They were too steep, and like I said, you had to bend your head. It says right in here that they need to be. And 2 engineers came. They're not supposed to be there. So, what do you think?
Well, I mean, this is the first I think anybody on council has even heard of it.
Well, I've called and talked to Penny. I went and talked to Chief
We've been dealing
Cahagan.
with this on and off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since,
But they need to be removed. They're definitely not
nothing was gonna be
safe.
done as long as
It shouldn't have anything to do with that,
the
though.
apartments.
I don't see that it's got anything to do with it, because
That was on advice of her attorney. So,
yeah, and you know why? So she can probably keep them there.
Well,
Somebody's gonna get hurt again, and it's wrong.
You're not
Would you-
living there anymore?
Would you like to see the, pardon?
You're not living there?
No, I just moved out. This past Wednesday was my last day there.
And there's a civil suit or something?
Well, it's an open case. We haven't sued or anything, but, and apparently,
talks.
I think it was Ralph Spooner, I'm not positive, she had redo the steps because they were too steep to begin with. So when he redid them, she's suing him too because my husband fell, but initially, they were never right to begin with. Do you know what I mean? My husband always fell, and I'd have to bend my head down to go down the steps.
Has the insurance company ever inspected this or
That's,
anything?
they've been there, that's why I'm saying. They've been there, 2 engineers have been there.
And she's still allowed to carry? They haven't threatened to?
That's, I don't know. That's the problem, you see? They're still there. It's probably the big spot of
It's a
blood.
legal matter today, there's a civil case.
Yes,
I mean,
but the point is, this here says from the town that it was supposed to be taken care of in 7 days. It's been 6 months. So 2 engineers have already said that they don't belong there. And somebody from your place right here says, so it's nothing to do with the lawsuits at all. People have already been in, measured, did everything that they had to do. There have been 2 engineers there.
well, I'm personally, I'd have to see some of the background, which I'm sure somebody's gonna email me.
Well, I don't know, but I can show you some pictures of the broken steps. I have them. And I have pictures of what my husband looked like when I found him in a pool of blood. So I'm just saying, it's just morally wrong.
Well, we'll look into it, the council will look into it. but
Okay.
We certainly can't act on it here tonight.
Well, no, but I
But I appreciate your coming and bringing it to our attention.
would appreciate if you would address this. It says legal notice, order for corrective action.
Yep.
There's many violations here. And the bottom part here says, due to the improper construction of the stairway leading from the apartment to the garage/basement area, this needs to be reconstructed to meet proper slope, rise, and run dimensions, or removed, and the floor area be built to appropriate specifications for load-bearing weight to equal that of the surrounding floor. That's what it says. This is from this town here, this city.
Yeah.
And like I said, many people have already seen it, and it shouldn't have, I don't think any lawsuit should have any bearing. People came, took their measurements, and said it don't belong there. Not just the city. There have been 2 engineers there, one from her insurance company and I don't know who else. And that was in December that they came.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. So,
We'll look into it.
when will I find out what?
I can't tell you.
Well, I'm just saying, should I come to the next town meeting? I would like to know.
It may be a part of the discussion at the next meeting, I don't know.
Well, I would appreciate it because it's just morally wrong.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've had to look at it all winter, and it's not pretty nice.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Other businesses, anybody else have any other business? The only other business I have is to discuss tri-community landfill, the board representation, and I would suggest we go into executive session to do that. Can I get a motion?
Move to go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter in accordance with MRSA Title I, subsection 405, section 6, A, B, C, D, E, and G.
Second?
All those in favor? We're in the executive session at 6:40. Thank you very much for coming. Shane, you can stay for this, obviously. So
Can his wife also?
I don't care.